Good evening, Professor. My name is Gianni Macchio, and today I will be presenting to you my ethics case study, which is about Enron and the ethical collapse of the company. So, for some relevant facts, Enron was founded due to a merger between Internorth and utility company Houston Natural Gas in 1985. The company sold everything from natural gas to electricity and other goods as well, foreign and domestically, and its leaders and executives were Kent Lay, the founder, CFO Andy Fasto, and COO and CEO Jeffrey Skilling. So, for some more relevant facts, Enron used a practice known as mark-to-market accounting, which basically used future values and estimates to value their company rather than historical prices, and in short, allowed Enron to overestimate their company's value without any real validations to them. They used SPVs or special purpose vehicles to dump their toxic assets and hide their negative debt, and it also made investors a little bit more difficult to pull their money from Enron as well. So they also had a very toxic work culture with a win at all cost mentality, which basically prioritized employees to use this as their own personal gain rather for the company's long-term stability. And this led to a very massive fraud in Enron. And behind the scenes, their auditor, Arthur Anderson, was turning a blind eye to everything that Enron was doing and created even more unethical actions within the company. So, for my ethical question, did Enron's leadership have an ethical responsibility to disclose the company's financial irregularities, even if doing so would have led them to have massive financial losses and damage to the company's reputation? So for my case study, I chose to go with um, utilitarianism for my ethical philosophy, and this philosophy was popularized by people such as Jeremy Bentham and John Mill. And basically, it assesses the morality of actions based on an outcome and advocates actions to foster happiness and pleasure and opposes actions that cause unhappiness and harm. And to even get more specific, I will be using act utilitarianism. And this is actions that would create the greatest amount of net happiness for the overall population or people. So, an example of this could be when a pharmaceutical company wants to release a drug to the public and the government reviews it. And the government sees that there are some adverse effects from these drugs, but these adverse effects are minor, and releasing the drug to the public would be more beneficial for a greater amount of people rather than the minority of these adverse effects. So, for utilitarianism versus Enron, so for my question before, Enron should have been transparent with all the financial irregularities that were happening within the company, even if this created more financial losses and damage to their company's reputation, because utilitarianism prioritizes happiness over the greater good of all people rather than a small majority of them. So if Enron was transparent, it would have allowed investors and workers to make informed judgments on buying into the company. Even though these inconsistencies may have resulted in financial losses and damage to their reputation, the long-term gains would have greatly outweighed the short-term gains from using this philosophy, and less people, such as investors and employees, would have been hurt from Enron's wrongdoings and unethical actions, as well as the general market and business that was happening throughout this time period also was under speculation and fire from Enron. So for potential solutions, I felt that if Enron implemented a stronger management and more ethical control, should have been in place to prevent these unethical actions from happening, such as that win at all costs mentality. If there was more ethical control and a stronger management, this mentality may have never arisen, and fierce competition between its staff and employees would have never happened. Enron should have prioritized its honesty and accountability for its long-term well-being for all of its stakeholders, and auditors and financial advisors should have highlighted those weaknesses with Enron, such as their off-balance sheets and their sketchy use of mark-to-market accounting. If the company was just more transparent about its financial debt and wrongdoings, I feel that Enron would have been around longer, and as a result, would have gained more money over time rather than the short term gain that they had. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great night.